We all experience stress in our lives, whether we are a newborn who has just gone through the trauma of birth, or whether we're an adult with a busy job. We also have chemical stressors in our life from the environment, from the food we eat, and we can't always remove all of these stressors from our life. So how can we adapt better to them? The answer is in the nervous system, and that's what we're going to talk about today in this episode of What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate. I'm your host and chiropractic advocate, Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media, and this episode applies to everybody. Alrighty, on today's episode, we have Dr. Jake Polzin from Louisburg Chiropractic Center. Welcome.
Hi there.
So you are a chiropractor who has a busy practice. Tell us a story. Who has gotten better under chiropractic care? How did their body do that?
So chiropractic care is amazing. And I love talking about chiropractic care. I feel like that's a hard one to really narrow down. And what I would love to share today is really what I share with my patients. We have all the same stories, the miracles that we would deem, miracles in chiropractic care. Unfortunately, we see a lot of the population that's coming in sick, broken down, chronic diseases. Maybe they've listed to you that we have tried anywhere and everywhere. And sometimes chiropractic care ends up being a last resort because thank goodness somebody said to them, have you ever tried a chiropractor? And sometimes that's the nudge that they need to look for something different. Clearly, the model of healthcare, we call it sick care in my office, is broken. It's got people into this big state of reactivity. And the biggest thing that I teach my patients in the office is how we get out of that. So the coolest miracle of chiropractic care is to avoid all of that stuff. We teach all of our patients to get themselves into a proactive model so we're not being reactive to symptoms. So that's really where I go with everybody in my office.
Yes. I love that you bring out like people coming in as a last resort when you're flipping it on its head of it should be the first resort. So I presume that means that you also see babies and kids.
Absolutely. We see them from the start. And it's as early of a conversation of we start with the prenatal care and understanding how the body is designed to do this, how they are innately wired for this big miracle process of from conception all the way to birth. And the quicker we can start them, that's really the best thing. We all know about birth traumas and how you go from this really quiet, dark, warm environment into the world. It's bright, it's loud, and the world just starts. And from that day one, through adulthood, life just layers on extra layers of stress. And the quicker we can get that stress out of the body, the better off they're going to be. All of my parents that start their kiddos all say, I wish I would have known about chiropractic care sooner. I wish I would have had my kids checked sooner because it's so much easier to grow healthy kids than fix them as broken adults. The quicker we get to them, the faster we can offload that stress.
Yes. Okay. You've mentioned stress a couple of times. Tell us more about that, because I think sometimes we think it's just a 40-year-old guy in his job is stressed. But what kind of stress are you talking about? Like, what kind of stress do kids have?
So kids have stress. It just manifests itself in different ways. I mean, we could take the easiest example of that. It's hard that we chuckle at it, but we've all watched the toddler videos of them falling while they're learning to walk. They come off the couches weird. They scorpion themselves on their little toddler trikes and bikes. And those are physical stressors. But then we also have the chemical stressors. Unfortunately, the food that is out there is highly processed. It's got a ton of sugars in it. And then we start throwing them into this structure that kids aren't necessarily designed for. We ask them to sit still and pay attention, and we've taken away recess, and we've done a lot of things that just are not how we used to do them. And if you look at what is going on in society as a whole, we're not getting any healthier. We're not getting less medicated. We're not getting away from chronic disease. Something is different. Something has changed and shifted. And I believe it's us chiropractors that can get out there in the forefront of this and really from an educational standpoint, help our parents and our kiddos know that there's a better way of doing this.
Yes. Yes. It's interesting. Yesterday, I was talking to my babysitter and I said, being dehydrated is a form of chemical stress that your body can adapt to a certain point, but you can only adapt to being dehydrated for a certain amount of time. So when this stress layers on, like you said, then what happens that our body can't just manage it anymore?
Yeah, so it kind of just starts to cross those thresholds. I mean, you can layer on so many things to it, and your body truly is designed, whether you are 2 or 92, to heal. It wants to help you. I give the example all the time. Unfortunately, a few weeks ago, had to go get a couple stitches in my finger. I was a prime example in my office. I lost an argument with a bread knife, and it made for a great ROF the last couple of weeks. I said, do we think it was the stitches or the Band-Aid that healed the human body, or was the human body innately designed to heal itself? Well, of course, it's the human body. It has all the resources necessary, but when we deplete it and when we layer on those extra levels of stress, all of that dis-ease, if left in there long enough, starts to turn into disease, and the body starts asking for help. The external way to ask for help is a sign, a symptom that looks different no matter who we are and where we are in life, but it comes out in that manner.
Yeah, I love that you are using the injury. I hope that heals really quickly, but I love that you're using that as a real world example, because we understand that with a Band-Aid, we say Band-Aid solutions, and yet we think I'll take Tylenol and it'll cure my headache. And it's like, even as adults, we should have a better understanding of how we're using our words and how we're using things in our lives of like, no, Tylenol is never curing anything. It is having a chemical effect in the body. Sure. Yeah. And the result of that may be that you don't feel your headache anymore. But it's just like if your headache is triggered because you're subluxated, or if your headache is triggered because you're dehydrated, Tylenol is not going to fix it.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, and that's just the model. I mean, that's the sick, care, broken model, that we are being reactive to symptoms. There is no Tylenol that is designed to cure a headache. In fact, medicine's not designed to cure anything. It's made to manage symptoms, and that's exactly what a Tylenol is doing. I give the analogy all the time in my office. I said, do you think that someday your body is deficient in Tylenol and it woke up saying, I think I need some more of that Tylenol, that's my problem today, or there's got to be a root cause? And if you were to take the example of, if you were in your house and your fire alarm went off and you turned around and heaven forbid there was a fire in your kitchen, do you want to run up and pull the batteries out of the smoke alarm, or do you want to go extinguish the fire? Well, of course, everybody wants to put the fire out. So why do we keep pulling the batteries out of the smoke alarm? To stop the signal, to stop the symptom, and never getting to that underlying cause.
Well, and like you mentioned, starting earlier, I think that, so often the model has been, we get to be 50 years old, 60 years old, and things start falling apart. And we think, oh boy, I better change something. I better start walking. I better lose some weight. Maybe I should go see a chiropractor for my back pain. But what you're really talking about is now in our 30s, in our 20s, as teens, as babies, getting that process, getting that nervous system checked so that when we're 50 and 60, we're just living life.
Absolutely. And that's my vow to all of my patients. I take it very serious when you tell people in our community that Dr. Jake is my chiropractor. I wear that as a badge of honor. And I tell them, we're not going to be sicker. We're not going to be more medicated. We're not going to be another year down the road where we're struggling with these health concerns. What we're actually going to be is another year where we're healthier. We're more active. We're engaged in our lives, doing the things that we want to do because we've offloaded that stress. We have a healthy adaptive nervous system that isn't asking for help, which is all those symptoms, that reactive model we want to stay away from. And we're proactive with it. We handle things as they come up because life is stressful. That's never going to stop. But if we help the body be able to better adapt to that by taking the overload off of it, it puts us in a much better place. Live the lives that everybody wants to do.
Yeah, and I think that this conversation is important because sometimes in natural healthcare, it feels like we're being told, do more, take more supplements, and remove stress from your life. I have 4 kids and I don't plan on, there's only so much stress I can remove from my life. My husband is a firefighter paramedic. We're planning on him having a long career in that. There's only so much stress that I, as a mother and firewife and business owner, there's only so much stress I can remove. So then that brings us back to the importance of this chiropractic conversation of, we're just going to adapt to it and support our bodies through it.
Yeah, we're going to better respond when we come up to those hard challenges, is when we have those mom stressors that we know that, maybe in different seasons of life, our stress levels do a bit of this, but we all are going to have this baseline borderline of stress. And the key is to not allow that stress to get deeper into the nervous system, to start having your body have these maladaptive patterns that then, if left unchecked or if left in there for too long, or the body's going to start screaming at you again. Life gets busy, and sometimes maybe people do fall off the and say, hey, I know I need to get back in here. This season of life has really gotten to me. So, yeah, Let's wheel it back in. Let's get that stress offloaded. And then let's keep a good pace that stays ahead of it moving forward. You hit the nail on the head. Life is stressful. We can only take so much out of it. The better win is to have chiropractic walk alongside you in this journey of life so that you can continue to keep up with what your life is demanding on you.
Yes. So then tell me a little bit more in your practice. What are your favorite ways to share chiropractic, to market, to tell more people about what you do?
So we get really honest. We have honest conversations about things that are happening with actual patients. We are constantly sharing testimonials. We are constantly sharing, hey, I get it that this is where you're at. I just had a patient last week that just finished up aftercare that struggled in the exact same way, so that you're actually giving them, so many of them I feel are missing almost hope. Like they feel almost hopeless, or they're confused, or there's so many messages out there, and we know that they're looking for something different. Everybody's became a Google doctor in the wee hours of the night, where they're trying to figure out, where are my next step? Other routes that I've taken aren't working. Nobody's communicating back to me. They think that my body is this disoriented piece, that I need to go to a specialist here that doesn't talk to this specialist, because my body's not all interconnected. And chiropractic is that inside out approach where we tie it all together. The nervous system is connected to the gut. The gut health is connected to the brain. All of this stuff is layered in there that has to be looked at as a whole healthy human. And we tell them, you're healthy. We know that you're more than your symptoms. You're more than your diagnosis. You're more than that stuff. We just got to unwrap those layers to it so we can start to layer that stuff back.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was at a doctor's visit with a member of my family, an older member of my family, and they were like, oh yeah, this headache pain, well, it's on the other side from the trigeminal neuralgia, so it's not related. And I was just like, it's in the same human.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's on the other side, the pain, the symptom has moved to the other side. But doesn't that tell us if they're having symptoms, even it's symptoms in the same area of the body? How can this be unrelated? Why are we not concerned about all of this? And, then the response was muscle relaxants. And it is so important that you offer this space where people can be seen and heard and have this discussion of health as a whole. I also love that you share videos on social media, and I love that you have fun with it. So tell me about how you have fun with social media.
Well, that's kind of been a new thing. As we met each other a couple of years back, we have inherited an office that was definitely not that model, and was very busy working inside the office, but wasn't reaching outside the office to connect in a different way with our patients. So we really took that on full steam and trying to make it really relatable. I think the biggest thing is when they know you, they like you, they trust you more, and they get to see that personal side of you. Not only do they get that connection piece with you inside the office, but that just really reinforces and allows our community to engage. And it makes opening up those conversations of, hey, what do you want from us? What are some of the things we've been struggling with? This year was a big thing with allergies. The spring allergies bloomed early. So we've been battling allergies since late February in spring allergies. Like, that's weird. That's abnormal for even the Midwest. But those are conversations that we've been able to have so we can tell them how to be proactive. So we get silly with it. We have fun. We engage the whole team. It's not always fun being the only one in front of the camera. So we get everybody there, and we get the girls moving, and we just have fun with it. That way there's layers of the educational ones, but there's also layers of they get to know you better.
Yes. Well, and I think that is what I love about any time that I see you on my feed, is that you guys are just doing it with a lot of personality. And there is such a difference when you see a post, when it feels like somebody is having fun with it versus, oh, I've got to check a box and, I had to post something. And so I did this. Like, we just feel the different energy. So I love that you guys bring that out. So I am going to share where people can find you and connect with you in the show notes. But as we kind of wrap up, what's one thing that you just wish more people knew about health?
I wish more people knew about health. That's a good one. Is that everyone on the planet needs a chiropractor, and your first and your starting place for true healthcare has to be at a chiropractic office. We are the ones uniquely positioned from the inside out, through the brain and the nervous system, to optimize health and to help offload what we've talked about this whole conversation, which is the big word stress. And when we start from the inside out, then we are uniquely capable and gifted and educated to get you wherever else you need to supplement that, whether that's nutrition, whether that's all the other things. Great. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a supplement. I'm a stinking chiropractor, and I'm darn proud of it. I actually love when people tell me, well, are you a real doctor? Heck no, I'm a chiropractor. We think differently. We're in a different model. And when we start here, that's the best sphere of health and wellness that you can ever be in, is in a chiropractic office. You got to start there. That's true healthcare.
Amen. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I know that this is going to be really powerful for people who have never heard of a chiropractor, but also for chiropractors who are just seeing your excitement about sharing this so simply. So thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jenna.